There is a hidden shadow behind Scar, the brother who always lived in the king's shadow. Why would someone so close crave power so intensely that it changes who they are? What drives such ambition? Get ready to uncover the truth behind envy, power, and the fragile human mind, a truth that will forever change how you see heroes and villains. In the vast and majestic Pride Lands, where the sun always seemed to shine on the rightful heir, Scar was born into a world already ruled by his brother, Mufasa. From the very beginning, the air was thick with expectation and comparison. Scar was never just another cub, he was the shadow trailing behind a destined king. The weight of being second, the constant whisper of less than, began to take root deep within his mind. Psychologists call this the silent poison of sibling rivalry, where love and resentment dance in dangerous proximity. The kingdom itself reflected this tension, a realm of order and legacy where every pawprint mattered. Scar's environment was one of rigid hierarchy, where value was measured in strength and approval. This breeding ground nurtured a fragile self-esteem, a growing seed of bitterness masked by charm and cunning. Scar learned early that survival wasn't just about strength. It was about outthinking, outlasting, and outmaneuvering those who stood in the way. But beneath this exterior, a restless mind was brewing, shaping plans unseen by those around him. As Scar watched his brother effortlessly claim the crown and the loyalty of the Pride, a storm quietly gathered within. The theory of social comparison explains how constant evaluation against others can distort one's sense of worth, fueling envy and ambition alike. Scar's early experiences carved pathways of distrust and calculation in his mind, setting the stage for a slow unraveling. But there was something no one could predict, a shift brewing in the shadows, waiting to emerge when the moment was right. And so, in the heart of the kingdom where the sun shone brightest, a darkness was quietly born. Something was coming, something that would challenge everything the Pride believed to be true. But there was something no one saw coming. The moment that began to fracture Scar's world was subtle, almost invisible to those around him. It was not a grand event, but rather a slow accumulation of doubts and dismissals, a quiet echo of rejection that carved deeper into his mind with every passing day. Scar's frustration grew as he watched the kingdom rally behind Mufasa, the favored son, the symbol of strength and rightful rule. The realization dawned that no matter how hard he tried, he would always remain second. A shadow fading behind a brighter light. This internal rupture sparked a profound change. Scar's mind, once filled with hope for recognition, began to twist and reshape his own narrative. Where before he saw a brother to admire, now he saw a rival to surpass. Psychology tells us that such emotional triggers can ignite a shift from insecurity to resentment, transforming gentle envy into a relentless drive. The outside world, too, sensed this change. Scar grew distant, his words sharper, his gaze colder. The Pride could feel the tension building like a storm ready to break. At the same time, Scar's internal conflict mirrored the classic human struggle between desire and morality. He wrestled with feelings of worthiness and the need for control, caught between his own ambitions and the ethical boundaries ingrained in his upbringing. Experts in developmental psychology explain how these internal battles often decide a person's path, either toward reconciliation or destruction. Scar's choice, however, was leaning dangerously toward the latter. As these forces churned beneath the surface, Scar's thoughts became more secretive and calculated. He began to question the fairness of the world around him and the legitimacy of the crown resting on his brother's head. The tension grew, like a fault line ready to crack under pressure. And it was in that fragile moment, when Scar's mind teetered on the edge, that everything started to unravel. And it was there, in that silent breaking point, that everything began to fall apart. Scar's mind was no longer the confused, yearning place it once was. It had transformed into a carefully constructed fortress of bitterness and ambition. His thoughts moved like a chess player, each step planned and coldly executed. No longer merely resentful, Scar began to embrace a new identity, one that justified his desires as necessary, even righteous. His words became sharper, his tone colder, revealing glimpses of the man he was becoming. To him, power was not just a goal. It was a means to rewrite the story that had long confined him. Inside Scar's mind, the boundaries between right and wrong blurred. Psychological studies of moral disengagement show how individuals can restructure their thinking to neutralize guilt and rationalize harmful actions. Scar's justifications grew stronger with each passing day, feeding an internal narrative that he was the true heir, wronged by fate and family alike. His charm, once a tool for connection, now masked a growing detachment, a calculated mask to manipulate those around him. Scar's transformation mirrored the concept of cognitive distortion, a mental process where reality is bent to serve one's desires. He began to see the pride not as family, but as obstacles. His strategic mind sought opportunities to weaken his brother's influence and increase his own. Scientific research on personality disorder suggests that this kind of calculated, remorseless thinking can develop when early emotional needs are unmet, and unresolved trauma festers in silence. Yet, despite the darkness growing within, the most dangerous aspect of Scar was yet to emerge. Deep inside, beneath the layers of calculation and resentment, a dormant force stirred, a part of Scar's psyche waiting for the perfect moment to awaken and change everything forever. The true storm had yet to break. But the real monster was still asleep. Scar had crossed the line from silent resentment to active defiance. His view of the world had shifted completely, and with it, his sense of right and wrong. No longer was he the overshadowed brother yearning for recognition, he had become a force determined to claim what he believed was rightfully his, no matter the cost. In his mind, the rules that once bound him no longer applied. Moral boundaries dissolved into mere obstacles to be overcome. This transformation is often seen in psychology as a point where the individual embraces a new moral code, one tailored to justify their actions. Scar's justifications were laced with a dangerous logic: if the end was power, then any means were acceptable. His thoughts became a web of rationalizations, bending ethics to serve ambition. To Scar, the kingdom's order was a cage, and breaking free required a complete upheaval. This shift forced those around him to face an unsettling question. What if Scar was right? Could the established order be flawed? Could the prince in the sunlit throne truly be the only path to peace? Scar's rise challenged the pride's very foundation, forcing a moral dilemma on all who witnessed it. Was ambition always a vice, or could it sometimes be a necessary force for change? And so, as Scar stepped beyond the point of no return, the line between hero and villain blurred. Was he simply a broken soul seeking justice, or something far more troubling? The answer is not so simple. What if, in his mind, he was the one who saw the truth? But what if he was right? To truly understand Scar, one must look beyond the surface of envy and ambition, into the intricate workings of the mind. Scar's actions were not random chaos but followed a cold, calculated logic, a strategy born from years of psychological conditioning and emotional wounds left unhealed. Neuroscience shows us how repeated feelings of rejection and inferiority can rewire the brain, creating patterns of thought that prioritize survival through dominance rather than cooperation. Studies in behavioral psychology reveal that Scar's mindset aligns with what experts call strategic antagonism, where individuals actively manipulate social structures to achieve power when they feel marginalized. This is not a mind gone mad in the usual sense, but one operating under a different set of rules, rules forged by pain and necessity. Scar's moves, from subtle manipulation to outright rebellion, follow a clear internal logic that makes sense to him, even if it horrifies others. Comparisons to real-life cases of calculated ambition reveal unsettling similarities. Just as some leaders in history have used charm and cunning to climb to power by undermining rivals, Scar employed his intellect and dark charisma to unsettle the established order. His behavior was neither a moment of madness nor a blind rage, it was a deliberate, cold calculation. And that's the chilling part, it wasn't insanity. It was precise, methodical. Behind Scar's actions lay a mind that had mastered the science of influence and control, using the very vulnerabilities within the pride as tools for his rise. This was not chaos born from emotion, but order born from calculation. It was not madness. It was cold calculation. After Scar's rise and fall, the Pride lands were forever changed. The scars left behind were not just physical, but psychological, echoes of ambition's shadow lingering in the hearts of those who survived. Scar's actions reshaped the kingdom's future, teaching harsh lessons about power, trust, and the fragile balance between order and chaos. His story became a cautionary tale, a myth warning against the dangers of envy and the destructive potential of unchecked ambition. But beyond the surface, Scar's legacy reveals a deeper truth about human nature. In every community, family, or society, there are undercurrents of rivalry and desire, forces that shape behavior in subtle, often hidden ways. Scar was not just a villain, he was a reflection of our own inner conflicts, the struggle between light and shadow within us all. Philosophy challenges us to ask, who are we to judge the darkness in others, when it might be part of ourselves? And yet, as the Pride lands healed, new shadows began to gather once more. The cycle of ambition, jealousy, and power is ancient and relentless. Perhaps Scar was not the last to walk this path. Maybe, somewhere in the vast savannah, another restless spirit waits, ready to rise when the time comes. But perhaps, he was not the last.